StephUp podcast. I am your host, Stephanie Ann Webb. And today on the podcast, I have my friend and recovery mentor, MartinJon Garcia. Hi, Martin John. Welcome.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks
I'm
for having me.
wonderful. Thank you. It's so lovely to talk to you. So, can you share a little bit about yourself? Anything you want to
Yeah,
speak?
my name is Martin Garcia. I go by Martin John. And we met, and what we're going to be talking about today is because I've worked so closely and studied for such a long time the Tao Te Ching. Last year, in the beginning of the year, I published a version of the Tao Te Ching, which you have, and um, it has been a big part of my recovery. So I got 24 and a half years clean and sober, and I was introduced to the Tao just before I was getting sober, and it resonated really deeply with me because it was spoken, it was written in these sort of riddles. It sort of gives you information that you get to explore yourself. And it is that exploring that always sort of really intrigued me about the text. And when I was a kid, like there was all of this like Confucius talk, and Confucius came did a lot of writing and stuff. And although some of it is aligned with the Tao Te Ching, it was that sort of riddle in that sort of giving you information through riddles that made me really intrigued with the text. And Tao of the Day, I look at it as an oracle. So the Tao consists of 81 chapters or forms, each of which have less than 250 words. And Tao of the Day is, where we met and where I ask people to pick a number between 1 and 81. And when they pick that number, we read that and we talk about how that text we explore that riddle, that text, to kind of figure out what that's telling us about ourselves in that moment and how we can maybe change our perception, change the way we look at things. Because the Tao Te Ching really being an ancient text, being something that was written in the 6th century BC, um, really uh, helps us live, like what I say is like the Tao Te Ching helps us live a more reasonable life. And when I'm talking about living a reasonable life, what I'm referring to is living a life in which we're not asking other things to change for us. We're asking, we're doing what we do, and we allow or surrender to others doing what they do. And we figure out what we're going to do in that um in that capacity. So it's like, oh, you're doing something that I see as harming for me. Well, I don't have to ask you to change what you're doing. I have to change how I expect or how I respond or how I receive what it is you're doing.
Yeah, you've helped me a lot with that because I was always like, so and so's doing this, and I get mad about it. Well,
Yeah, it's so common to just
it
be a
is.
victim to everything around us.
Yes. And it's a philosophy. It's also a
I
religion.
look at it and I
Or
address it from the sort of philosophical angle. So, of course, there's Taoism, and Taoism is a religion that sprung from the Tao Te Ching. However, I don't look at it as a religion. I don't look at Tao as an entity. I don't look at it as an anthropomorphic God. I don't look at it from that perspective. I look at it as Tao is what we experience while we're living. So this interaction is loaded with Tao. You're Tao, I'm Tao. I'm having a perception and an experience with you, and with you as a part of that experience. However, you're having an experience with me as a part of that experience. However, you're not aware of the experience I'm having, and I'm not aware of the experience you're having. I can't be. Although there's no separation between us, we're one, right? We're both Tao. Tao is having both of these experiences at the same time. However, you are not aware of mine. I'm not aware of yours. I won't be affected by your experience of this. However, you are going to mature through your experience of this. This is where it gets really paradoxical, and we have to, this is why I talk about not being a victim to like what you do now, I can take personally, or I can realize that, oh, that's what you did. What was my experience of what you did? Right. And looking at it from that different perspective.
Or from using different wording, like just our or you just said it, perspective,
Mhm.
how we're seeing it from our perspective, which is, or in another way, I always have to make things like, I always have to use different wordings to make it make sense sometimes, as
Yeah,
we
of
all do,
course.
I think. So it's like, there's your truth and my truth, and then there's the, like, the third fusion version of it. Like there's always three versions of something of the truth. Is that kind of similar? Where it's like my perspective, your
Yeah,
perspective, but then
so
like
there is,
similar?
there is, I suppose, this is where it gets, this is where we're chalking it up to like be able to understand is like, yeah, okay, there is, there's your truth, my truth, and then some unknown truth, right? But that unknown truth is can't be known, and so does it exist
Hmm.
at all? Like, is there a third truth? I mean, because what is that then? It's like who's the one perceiving that truth?
Right. Huh.
Because
Sometimes you like, well, you know me, I like to try to understand things,
all right.
but then it also affects me because when I can't understand it, I get frustrated. But then it's like, well, it's it is what it is. Like, why do
Well,
I?
so let's look at this idea of there's a third truth.
Okay.
So there's your truth in which can't be true outside of you.
Hmm.
There's a second truth that is my truth that cannot be true outside of me. You might be able to understand where I'm coming from, but you only understand your experience of what you understand my experience to be. That's not, you don't understand my experience at all. You can't. You can only understand as far as you can, like, even if I explain it to you, you're only having the experience of the explanation, not the reality.
Right.
So, who would we ask to explain this third truth to us for us to know the third truth? So
I,
when you talk about this third truth, this, like who has that information? Who is having that experience? Who can see everything that I am for, being a, 49-year-old male grown up in Chicago who has 25 years clean and sober, all that being encapsulated in my experience. And then everything you are being encapsulated in, who can see both of these? And let's not forget that the air that we're having this experience in also has an experience of being the air that it is, right? And the so sure, you know, there's your truth, my truth, and the real truth.
well,
Sure.
okay. Well, you know how I was raised
Yeah.
fundamentalist evangelical, and it was, well, there's God's truth. But then the wording they didn't like, well, your truth or my truth. And so it was always there's only God's truth and the biblical truth. But then like coming out of that, it was so much more helpful to see, well, yeah, but just because I'm seeing it from the lens of the Bible based on my version of what it is, or so and so others' version, like the white European men who decided that this was the theology that we should follow. It was like that opened my eyes to so much more because it wasn't just this one way of looking at things. It was like, wait, well, those people over there have a different experience and they read the Bible differently than other people over here. And I can't speak to that because I'm not them and I don't know. All I know is my own experience.
Right.
And
And there's
yeah,
it's tough, especially
fascinating.
when we get caught in the religious thing,
Yes.
right? Because now you're saying, well, this is God's truth. All right, well, who are you
Who's
to tell me what God's truth is?
right? Yeah.
Like, how arrogant must you be, right? To sit here and say, I understand God's truth. What? Like, you understand what it's like to be God and what he's thinking, or she's thinking, or it's thinking. You, you,
You. Yeah.
right?
Or my version, my little denomination or cult
Right.
or
Yeah. You
whatever.
know, so
Yeah.
it's an abs and that's what I like about the Tao.
Hmm.
And the Tao Te Ching won me over, um, really, in its first chapter, saying words cannot express Tao. If if the Bible were to start with, hey, God is infinite, you can't understand infinite because you're not. But I'm going to use these pages to try and explain something to you that I'll never be able to explain. If it were to start that way, I would have so much more respect for the Bible because it would understand the task it was trying to um, undertake, and it would understand God for what it truly is. Um,
That was mind blowing for me because we were told we had God all figured out. And then it's like, wait, you can't. It's not a thing you put in a box.
yeah,
And it's like, wait, if we've got it all figured out, then we're saying that we know everything. And when I took philosophy, it was, well, we don't know everything. And that contradicted what I was raised in. It was really hard for my brain to comprehend. But then I realized, oh, yeah, who are we to say that we know anything? Because what I know is like this much out of anything, you know?
right. And
And
that's the,
it's
when I,
freeing, actually freeing.
it should be.
Yeah.
I think it is. It frees you, but I think one of the scary things for all this is it frees you from the things you ground in. So you have an anchor. Your anchor is knowledge because we are we are currently in a stage in human existence in where logic is the thing that we're really anchored in.
Right.
So I talk about these things, and you know this. I talk about, the survival brain, the relationship brain, the logic brain. So right now we're at the end of the logic brain and moving on into the spiritual brain, and we talk about this on Tao of the Day and stuff. But the logic brain grounds us in logic, and religion as the major masculine energetic religions that exist today, Judaism, Christianity, Catholicism, um, and so many others. So, like, I think uh, all of the major religions
Yes.
really kind of have this masculine tilt, and Tao is feminist, right? Like, so is a feminine, loving
Oh,
religion, right?
I
So it's a
don't think I
feminine religion,
ever actually knew that, but it makes sense to me as to why it feels comforting.
right? It's not it. There's no judgment. There's no
Yes.
right and wrong.
Oh,
It's non-dual. And that's the thing. Logic needs to be able to measure. And so any religion that's going to tell you there is a right and there is a wrong measures, and that is masculine.
Right. Okay.
So that's the difference between dualism and non-dualism. Tao is a non-dual text, and the Bible is dualistic, right? You have heaven and hell. You have you have you and God. You have you and your enemy. You have right and wrong. You have evil and holy. You have all of these things. And anytime you start talking of opposites, you're talking about dualism.
Right. Hmm. I yeah. But then, okay, also, when people talk about yin and yang, that is that anything that's I think Asian culture where they talk about
Yeah,
the yin.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Is
And
but that's also
it
dualistic?
is a part of Taoism.
Oh, is it?
So so yin and yang is about balance, right? So yin and yang is that symbol,
Oh, okay.
but there is the light in the dark and the dark in the light, right? You know, that little spot.
Yeah.
And so that's about balance. It's about like the light is not only light and the dark is not only dark. Um,
Oh, so
so
I
so
didn't realize that it was more it's mostly about balance because I kind of saw it as like the opposites, like evil, good kind
Right.
of.
So you'll see the
Oh,
yin yang symbol without the two dots in it very often. But the yin yang symbol with the two dots in it is the sort of non-dual um expression of balance.
okay.
And you've seen
Oh,
that,
yeah.
but you won't see it always because it's a product. So that symbol is a product of our logical world. And this is, you know, it's not the symbol um isn't what yin and yang is, right? Yin and yang. So you may recall some of the verses of the Tao talking about masculine and feminine.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is a recognition that there is a masculine and feminine. So there are differences between these things. There are opposites that exist, but um, nothing is masculine and nothing is feminine. Everything is both,
The balance of both.
you know,
Okay.
and so, you know, just the fact that you were born with a penis or a vagina doesn't mean you're more masculine or more feminine. It just means that you have a penis or a vagina. That actually has nothing to do with your energetic signature of who you are and what you're going to do and how you're going to exist in the world.
Mm, right. And when people put boxes into labels of, well, so and so is not, man over here is not masculine enough, or she's not feminine enough, they're saying like it has to be either this or this. But as we know, things are not so black and white. And that's more freeing also for people to be who they are.
You know, there's so much.
It's complex.
It is complex. There's so much to consider
Yeah.
on all fronts, and you can't necessarily just. And here we're talking at a very high level about all of this, right? We're right now we're talking at a high level about this Taoist sort of stuff. And the thing is if you start to talk about Tao with a sort of slant on helping people understand it, you can't do it. Like you will just make it another product. You'll
Right.
just turn it into a religion because the thing is your listeners want to understand. And we may have a desire to be understood. Well, that's dualistic. So if we approach a conversation on the non-dual from a dual space, we are going to misinterpret.
I actually, there's those, those relationships, friendships where something happens and you just want that other person to understand and you want to have, like, I go through this sometimes with people, of course. And I'm like, I just need you to understand so that you don't think this of me. And I want to understand so I don't think that of you. And I can get so caught up in that. And yet, when I just can think, okay, well, you're doing what you're doing. I also don't know from your perspective, and I never fully will.
Hmm.
And I can either hold on to that and get mad, or I can learn to just be like, allow that to just be, which is
Yeah,
not easy.
it's understanding that nobody you only want them to understand so you feel good.
Yes. I want everyone to understand me so I feel worthy. I know that's a thing for me at times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
Wow.
it. And so it's not for them. You don't need them to understand. You need them to not misunderstand because if they misunderstand, you're going to feel bad.
Yes.
And so, in when I talk about that, like we say, what I say and what you hear have nothing to do with one another. If you get upset, and I'm okay with everything that I said and everything I did, I won't care that you're upset.
Yes.
That's your business.
There was one time during the Tao of the Day on Noon Vibe, I went up and you have a timer of 15, I think 15 minutes, right?
Mhm.
And I went up three times. It was like 45 minutes. And somebody messaged me afterwards because I was starting to get kind of frustrated. And you said, I'm not going to argue with you. I wasn't frustrated in a sense of what you were saying. I was frustrated with, I think, first of all, I couldn't express what I wanted to.
Mhm.
And I didn't know how, and I didn't know if you were understanding how I was saying it, and then vice versa. Anyway, and then near the end, I was starting to get less defensive, and I was just like, oh, okay. And somebody messaged me, and she goes, I hope you go back and listen to this as you can start to hear yourself get it. And I listened to it, and I was like, oh my God, I was so defensive with Martin John. And like the poor guy was just trying to help me. And then I apologized to you and you said, oh, I don't even remember.
Well, see, and
But I was
that's
worrying
because
about
that's
it.
my experience,
Yeah,
right? My experience, I didn't have to hold on to it because I wasn't upset.
right.
I wasn't, I mean, obviously I wasn't upset. I mean, I can't recall,
I know. You
but
do them every
but
day.
but I don't recall ever being upset with you, right? Or ever being like, like I suppose I could say I do recall a lot of moments where you struggled to understand.
And I broke down crying quite a bit,
Yeah, well,
which was
I
good,
know
which
I
was needed.
recall some of that, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Like we struggle to understand things, especially when we're going from a space of non-dual or a space of dual to non-dual, because like your entire life, I mean, I don't know if you had any non-dual sort of um, introduction other than with what I talk about, but
When I took philosophy, critical thinking in my 30s, but like that was really hard.
I can imagine.
But the best course, but the hardest. Yeah. But yeah, black and white.
Yeah.
Everything was either
And
good or
do
bad.
like dual to the and like evangelical like indoctrination is dual to the point of damaging to people. Like it is purposefully damaging to
Yeah.
people because if you go against the dual measurement, If you go against all that, then you are a danger to the organization.
And people are so concerned for the
No, they're
afterlife.
not. They're not concerned for you.
Well, they're
They're
told that,
concerned for them, and they're concerned for themselves and the institution.
yeah,
Now, the institution is the only thing that gives them value. So, yes, you can say they're concerned for themselves, but they have to keep the value of the institution afloat because if it fails, they fail.
right.
So it's not really, right? And you know that you have to give everybody the opportunity so that you can have your rapture.
Yes.
Without your rapture, then everything is moot. So it's all about destination. It's
Mm,
all about measurement. It's all how close are we getting to rapture? How close are we getting to be to God, with God? How close are we getting to doing all of it? It's all measurement.
yeah. And that's when you're raised in that from birth, it's so deeply rooted. And it's like, and I still have those things, of course, they come up, right? And I'm like, wow, that comes from that. Okay. Because
Well,
I
and this
still,
is why I talk about things as being under the influence.
right,
Right. So you're under the influence of your parents, and your parents are deeply under the influence of that institution. So thus you become under the influence of the institution. And what the hierarchy, whether your parents are influencing you more than the institution or the institution is influencing you more, like that stuff that you gotta, suss out at some point and really start looking at, well, are these influences that I want or don't want, or are these influences that I accept? Because you're going to be under the influence of something throughout
right.
your life. There's going to be more and more influence. Like, I mean, there's influence everywhere. And if we're in the first world, we're being influenced by so many things all the time. And if if you're aware of, like when you find information that challenges you and you break down crying and you can't understand it and it challenges you, um you could turn that off. You can turn it off and just go to church, and who cares? The Tao says, um those who people love to feel, and in order to feel, they kill. Other people love to feel, and in order to feel, they remain still. Um, and it says, who's to know who's going to experience more turmoil? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do. The difference is in your experience of life, and how you portray yourself, i.e., whether you're a victim of this thing or not, or if you just say, "Oh, I'm just gonna like look at what I'm doing." And I like to use the phrase "far out." Something I picked up from, I don't think it was Timothy Leary, one of the people that he worked with though. Ram Dass. Ram Dass uses it.
Mhm.
And
He said far
it's
out.
what's that?
He said far out.
Ram Dass. Yeah,
Ram
yeah,
Dass.
yeah. He said far out a lot. I mean, a lot of people did, but
Yeah.
how he uses it, right? So if you look at yourself and you see, oh wow, I'm having all of this struggle in my life. And then you're like, oh, and that's because I'm judging these other people. Far out. Like I'm judging people. Like far out. Like what? Why would I do that?
Instead of judging that you're judging,
Right.
observe.
You observe it and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
far out. Like, look
Yeah.
at what I'm doing. Or, like I was talking to you before I got let go from this one job, and I was just like, oh, far out. Let's see. Like, wow, all of a sudden in my life, like there over the last couple of months, a number of things just fell away. It's like, oh, far out. And I wonder what's going to happen now. I'm not like, oh my God, what do I got to do to, it's just more like, oh, that's interesting. Huh. Wonder why, wonder why all that's going on. Like, I know there's something. more than me.
Oh,
I know there's something out in the world that is not just, it's not just cause and effect. Things are, like I live in a space where like life is easy. This is magical. Far out. How's this going to work out? Like, why? What is this opening space in my life to be? Now, does that also mean that I never get caught up in the manifestation of things and say like, oh, everything's far out? No, I can get caught up in things as well. But when I can bring it back to that space of being like far out, what's going on? Ooh, my check engine light's on. Far out. Wonder what wonder what that's gonna. But the moment it comes on, I have that anxiety,
yes.
right? But can I get back to, well, I can look it up, find out what the problem is, and then go, oh, okay, well, maybe it's a problem, maybe it's not a problem, maybe I got to get it fixed, maybe whatever it is, I just face that at that moment. Whatever, like, yes, maybe I got to deal with, like, losing another income source. And I have to figure out, well, how am I going to replace that? Oh, maybe it doesn't need to be replaced. Maybe it'll get replaced on its own. Maybe something else will expand. Maybe, like this is the whole when God closes a door, he opens a window. Like
I say that. I love when you do burr, 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 burr. So funny. Yeah.
so yeah, so that's all dualistic, right? Like that's all like, oh, this happened, that's bad. And then you're like, oh, I got a job, that's good.
Yes.
And that's the whole we'll see sort of scenario. It's like, well, we'll see.
That
That's bad. Oh, we'll
that
see.
keeps popping up, and it's a theme with actually a lot of the talks I've been having. Um, and the people like, and Julie Howlett, I had her, she's the first guest I had on, and she's always reminded me, play, and you always remind me, like, let's play with life. And every time I start to get stressed about something because it's supposed to go this way and blah blah blah, well, this is life, let's play, let's see what happens.
Yeah,
That's
far out,
it's
far out. And
it
and
takes away such stress.
yeah, there's an interesting way of looking at it when you just sort of you're not so invested in the outcome.
Yeah.
You're not so invested, like it's a balance though.
Mm.
Because if you get so not interested in the outcome that you sabotage your own life so that you can prove to yourself that you can't do that. People do that all the time.
I do
You-
that. I've been
Yeah,
doing that.
right. You get so you're like, no, 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 I don't have to worry about it because, right? Or you push it out of your head and it's like, there's a lesson to be learned here. Are you learning it or are you bypassing it so that you don't have to feel uncomfortable? This is why I tell all my clients and all the people that I work with is like, you have to ask the question, do I like that I'm doing? Because if you ask that question, you may not. You may not like that you're pushing it down. Okay, good. Now you can keep pushing it down until you're ready to not, but you're going to do it until you don't. So do the thing. I liken this to Oreo cookies, but that's a physical thing. So I talk about the Oreo cookie where it's like you're going to like an Oreo cookie because an Oreo cookie is designed to be liked. But when you eat one Oreo cookie, you like that Oreo cookie. You like that you're eating that Oreo cookie. You eat two, maybe that's the same. You still like the Oreo cookie, you still may like that you're eating that Oreo cookie. Now you're on to three.
For the whole
Now,
bag.
you still like the Oreo cookie because the Oreo cookie is delicious. However, you might not like that you're eating the third one. Now that changed, right? That's the thing that's going to change. You liking something, like I like to travel. Okay, but you don't like that. You are fucking angry all the time because you're waiting or whatever. Like you don't like that. So it's good to become aware that just because you like something doesn't necessarily mean that you like that you're doing it at this moment. Once you can bring in more awareness around things that you don't like that you do, and recognize that you're going to do those things anyway until you don't, until you're ready to not do them. Like you don't like that you living under the influence of your parents. Let's say, of a certain thing, because you can't just chalk it up to, I don't like that. I'm living under the influence of my parents. Are you aware of how that influence is affecting you right now? I don't like that. I judge myself right now, right? I don't like that. I don't like that. I'm judging my YouTube. The time I invest in watching videos on YouTube. Okay, does that mean you have to stop watching YouTube? No, but you've just recognized that you don't like that you're spending this much time on it. Good, no problem. Eventually, as long as you continue to ask yourself, do I like that I'm doing this? You will naturally step away from it without having to put in any effort at all. I talk to people about this around addiction. It's like, yes, you're addicted. Do you like that you're using crack right now? No, I don't like that I use crack. Right, but you like crack. And then people want to say they don't, but it's like, well, if you didn't, what? Like that's a different problem then. Um, and oftentimes that's because we're trying to lie to ourselves. We're trying to fool ourselves into thinking we don't like something that we obviously do.
Right.
And that's just not being honest. And you
Right.
got to get to those places of being honest with who you are and where you are, and being aware of what you like and what you don't like, and what you like and you don't like that you're doing, and then stop judging yourself. Judgment stagnates energy. My buddy Alan told me that years and years ago. It's like any judgment you have judgment about your weight, you have judgment about your grades, you have judgment about your intelligence, you have judgment about your money, you have judgment about your neighbors, you have judgment. The more you judge, the more practiced you get at it, and it just stagnates energy and stagnates movement in your life, so you can't grow. It just
Mhm.
limits your ability to um really mature.
Yeah. I definitely feel that when I'm judging a lot and then I get
Mm.
angry and then I hate myself and I hate my life and I'm like, "Wait, what's happening?" Oh, I've and I keep going with it until I recognize, "Wait, I don't like that this is happening."
Right.
Know thyself, know what it is that's coming up for you. Do you want to we
Yeah.
can pick a number and read from the Tao?
Sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. Well,
Do you want to pick a
I'm
number?
just I don't really have any that comes. Do you have a number? I can just
No, I can just pick a
okay.
random one from my website.
Oh yeah, just pick a random one.
All
Because
right.
there have
Number
been times where I
71.
came up and I was like, I have a number in my brain, but today I don't. Okay, 71.
71.
I'm gonna open my copy here and read with you. Hey.
To
Oh.
know we don't know. So let's just look at the title. So this is kind of how I look at it. I like to start with, and this is what I do on, just to tell your audience, this is what I do on Tao of the Day. We, I would talk to my guest, we would set a baseline of some sort, and then we would pick a number. And I use this as an oracle, which I mentioned in the beginning. And what that means is we just use this as a text that is attached to the energy that we have established between you and I. And we're sort of asking Tao, or asking the Tao Te Ching, to give us a new perspective, to give us a way to maybe sum up all that we've been talking about today. And I think 71, and when I say that, and I get a title like "To Know We Don't Know," there's a there's a surrendering there. There's a surrendering in that, to accept the fact that we don't know. And it's not in this dualistic idea that, like, to know we don't know so that we can take a class and figure it out, right? So that's not what it's saying. It's saying, like, to know we don't know and surrender to not knowing, to know that it's not important to know. That's what I'm gathering here after all that I said, because in my mind, when I'm talking, and I mentioned earlier, like we're talking about this from a very high level. I don't know how people are going to respond. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know what's going to come out of my mouth next. And to surrender to all of that and to allow this moment to be what it needs to be for me and for you and for this moment to exist in the future for other people to be. I don't have to dictate it. I don't have to know what it is. I can just allow it to be what it is. So that's kind of how I read the title.
Mm.
Um, and the text for this is to be aware that one does not know is healthy for all things. Avoiding awareness of this is a current plague. By acknowledging you have been infected, you can become aware and move toward healing. The master has cured herself. She is aware she does not know. She is healthy in all aspects.
That's literally what we were just talking about.
Yeah. And
Oh,
again, this approach to the riddle, it's so I feel like in my translation, which is what we're reading from, we don't mystify. I never wanted to mystify or to really drive home the mysticism of Tao. I wanted it to be much more about your experience of Tao in life. And so there is this line that I really like, but I think can get convoluted or think could get confusing is avoiding awareness of this is the current plague. So there's this backwards loop,
yeah.
right? So it starts by saying to be aware that one does not know is healthy for all things. So that's very straightforward and simple. If you know you don't know, you're healthy because you're accepting everything as it is. You don't have to know what people are thinking about you. But when you do know what people are thinking about you, no, you have to know, you have to hear this. You have to let me explain because you think you know what they're thinking. But if
And you
you,
get attached to it
right,
and you start harping on it and then you get angry and then it can become your whole identity.
right. And the whole time, you didn't really know anything.
Yeah.
You're
A
probably
story,
being
a story
guided,
we tell ourselves.
right. You're probably being guided by influence that you are unaware is influencing you as much as it.
Mhm.
And then there's this line that this backwards like loop of avoiding awareness of this is the current plate. Avoiding awareness of the fact that you don't know. So when you stop asking yourself, do I know for sure? Which when do we ask that ever? We often times just think something and that's the truth.
Yep.
We think, and obviously you did this for this because I have all of these reasons that I observed that tell me it's true. However, there's so many more things that are happening that I didn't observe that I'm not taking into consideration. So I'm avoiding awareness of the fact that there are things that I didn't observe. I'm avoiding being aware of all of this other stuff. And I'm just closing everything off in a box to what I personally observed. And that's the current plague. And this was written in 600 BC, no, 600, 6th century BC. And today, confirmation bias is what this is really kind of addressing. And
Mm.
if it has ever, if that plague has ever been more prolific or more dangerous, it's today. The idea that you can go online and just be in the midst of your own. ideas spit back at you by all of the media that you absorb, all of the information, all of the ads, all of the things that you engage in, this is a plague. Avoiding awareness that you do not know. When all of the media, all of your interactions with the world online, at least, and then probably in your perception out in the world, is that you know. I'm patting you on the back because you know what we're talking about. You're in on the group, you're in on the information, you're smart. You're being told that left and right from everywhere.
Mhm.
To admit that you don't know something is so hard to do in a world today.
Yeah.
And if you were to search questions out, you'll just get tutorials on YouTube on how to fix how to know that which you don't know because not knowing is uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to not know something. It's uncomfortable because you might feel like you're left out. But it says here to be aware that one does not know. To be aware that you don't know is healthy for all things. And avoiding being aware of that in and of itself, is a current plague. That is the illness that is captured so many people today. And that's what we're talking about. The idea that I want to understand, that desire to understand is just recognizing is, I mean, if you want to move towards health, as this is talking about, as Tao sort of elicits, right? You would acknowledge that you've been infected. That's all it's saying. That's all it's telling you to do. To acknowledge that you've been infected, to acknowledge your own ignorance, to acknowledge that you want to understand, just to acknowledge that you can move towards health. It's not saying you're done. It's just saying to acknowledge that, right? So like when you took that philosophy class and then ran into me, like those are moments that you've acknowledged. Maybe you don't know everything. Maybe this can't just be chalked up with a couple posters and a fucking, and a little booklet of responses.
Yeah. And that's also so, and we've talked about this many times, but like in the self-help spaces, it's all about fixing your problem. I'm going to tell you what to do. Here's a little saying, here's a little post, here's
Mhm.
this.
Yeah.
And I know that we're coming into a different, a shift in the world. And that's not working anymore because people are like, that's not helpful. Or maybe
No,
it's
it's
helpful, but it's like
it's
you're telling me what I need.
well, it's difficult because that's where you get that's where profit comes in,
Yeah.
you know. Um, you know, I I don't know if this is the case. I can assume it was. My show is no longer supported by Noom Vibe because I don't care about Noom Vibe. I think it's very much that like I was never a champion of the app. I don't care about the app. Um, I like the way the platform is set up so I could talk to one person at a time and do Tao of the day. But I think the idea that they're trying to make the world healthy is bullshit. And everybody that wants to go on there and talk about, like these hard and fast things, like that's not what I do, and I'm not interested in doing that. And I'm not interested in towing the party line, as they say. I don't know if that's why they got rid of me or why they no longer support Tao of the Day. It doesn't really bother me. But a big aspect of what you're saying is like, yeah, this self-help like world, like that is about giving people a false sense of security and benefiting a a profit margin, really
Yeah.
benefiting like somebody or some message. And I'm uninterested in anything outside of people loving themselves and realizing that they have the ability within themselves to be themselves, and to get out from under the influence of all of those things, and that's huge. That's huge.
Yeah. The influence. I've been so we all get influenced by these things, but like the apps and the knowledge online, I have been so overwhelmed at times because I'm like, well, so and so saying this and so saying that. And then recognizing, wait, I'm being, I'm allowing those things to influence me. And that's why my body is like, wait, you don't like this. What do you
Right.
say? What do you want? And I'm like, I don't
Right.
know, but they say I have to have this. Who's saying?
Well, and it's not even who's saying who are like this is where it gets so muddled because it's like not only are these people saying these are only the people that you're aware of. There are people elsewhere that you're not aware of that are saying other things.
Right.
And like you can't like you are like this is what this is talking about, to know you don't know and to give up trying to know, because like when you don't have to do the right thing, you do the thing that's right for you.
Mm. Coming back to self.
Right, because you don't we have stripped people of their self-worth. We have stripped people of their faith in themselves. We've stripped people and we've all looked to products, whether that's Jesus. I mean, Jesus is a product today. We have to be able to see that, right? We have to be able to also see that like you are a product that we're trying to sell you on, right? We're trying like people are the greed that is around us, and but the freedom that you have within your grasp is immense. The freedom of that, right? Like you can, like food grows out of the ground, air is around you. Like there's all of these things that you are being held by. And we don't want to be left behind by some people that are living under the influence of money and the economic system and the influence system and the social media and religion and all of these things. It's just like I want them to see me as valuable. I want them to see that I'm doing the right thing. And the only way to see that is for me to do what they say is the right thing. It's like,
Mm. Yeah.
what? What? Like the thing that I want for all of my clients that I work with is that they do it on their own, right? And that's why when I work with clients, I after 1 month, I let them go live their life for 3 months, and then we have a phone call and just be like, "Hey, how you doing?" Because you don't need more than a little guidance. You don't need more than a little nudge. Once you get that nudge, and you can really see, and that's why I see people for a month, because it's like, all right, well, you need enough so you don't like revert. But once you get moving, you trust yourself. And this is when I talk about like iteration. We iterate, and then as you go through and you ask those questions, do I like that I'm doing this? Am I doing, like, and you don't seek answers outside. You just say, oh, well, what's good for me? And if you do seek answers outside, that's fine too, because that's part of your experience and that'll take you to where you're going, blah, 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 all of that. But, you know, that's what's great about the last part of this 71. The master has cured herself. She is aware she does not know. Every moment she has to act. on something, but she doesn't move into the next moment thinking that she knows what it's going to be. She's present and she does what she needs to do and knows that maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. Doesn't really matter either way. What matters is that if it works, if it doesn't work, if I'm happy, if I'm sad, if I like that I'm doing it or don't like that I'm doing it, I recognize that and I iterate again.
Mm. Wow. That's a lot to take in.
Like I
Um,
said, it's we're talking at a
yeah.
high level, but
Yeah. Well, thank you, Martin John. This was wonderful talking with you and sharing your experience and your copy of the Tao. Guys, you can find where can people find this? Where can they
yeah,
find
you can go
you?
martinjon.com. That's martinjon, dot com, one word. And you can find ways you can connect with me. I have a free 30-minute call you can do. You can find information about me on there or Martin John, MartinJon on social media as well.
Yeah. I'll put your links in the show notes.
Yeah, wonderful.
Thank you, Martin John. Is there any parting words of wisdom or anything else you'd like to add?
Um, just like I always think that asking that question, do I like that I'm doing this?
Mm.
Do I like that I'm thinking this? Do I like that I'm doing this? Do I like that I'm saying this? You don't have to change. Just recognize if you like that, you're doing it.
The awareness.
Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you so much, Martin John. It was lovely chatting
absolutely.
with you.
It's my pleasure. Thank
All
you.
right. Sending love to you all. Bye.